You weren't betrayed because you were weak. You were betrayed because you never learned the rules. No one taught you how to defend yourself. No one warned you that sometimes, to survive, you need to be ruthless. Since childhood, you were told to be a good person. Bekind, be forgiving, be humble. But they never told you this. The world doesn't run on kindness. It runs on perception. And that perception is never fair. You can be intelligent. You can be sincere. But if you don't understand how power works, if you don't know when to stay silent, when to step back, you will become prey. In this game, naivety is a slow form of suicide, and kindness without armor makes you a target. For the ones who smile while stabbing you in the back, the real question isn't how good you are. It's how much control you have when cornered. Can you stay silent? Can you stare a traitor in the eyes and not let them know you see them? This isn't a lesson in morality. It's a warning. Because if you don't learn how to become sharper, more silent, more dangereux, you won't need to be attacked. You'll crush yourself, quietly, from the inside out. They told you that being good was enough, that if you worked hard, loved deeply, stayed loyal, life would reward you. But they forgot to mention the cost. They forgot to tell you about the moments you'd be left standing alone, after giving everything, after showing up, again and again. For people who never even looked back, they didn't warn you about the silence after the sacrifice, the empty room after the apology, the look in their eyes when they realized you were never dangerous enough to be respected. You believed life was fair, that if you just stayed kind, stayed humble, things would balance out. But life isn't balanced. It's brutal, and it feeds on the unaware. No one taught you that in this world, perception is stronger than truth, that silence can be louder than words, that the one who walks away first holds the power. They told you to be strong, but strength, in their eyes, meant swallowing your pain, nodding when you should have walked away, apologizing when you were the one bleeding. You thought loyalty was a virtue, but they used it as a chain, not to reward your presence, but to control your fear of absence. You weren't weak. You were just unarmed. And in a world where power is the real currency, you paid with your peace, over and over again. This is the pain no one warned you about, the pain of realizing that the rules you were taught were never meant to protect you. They were meant to tame you. You became predictable, too forgiving, too available, too honest in a game that thrives on illusion. They saw your light, and instead of protecting it, they drained it. Because light, in the hands of the naive, becomes a beacon for predators. And here's the truth you need to hear. Kindness, without strategy, is a liability. Empathy, without boundaries, is an open wound. Love, without discernment, becomes self-destruction. They didn't prepare you for this world. They prepared you to survive in the stories, not in the shadows, not in the rooms where deals are made, where silence is traded like gold, where emotions are used as weapons, and appearances are everything. You keep wondering why the loudest voices win, why manipulators rise, why people who lie, cheat, and smile through their teeth seem to thrive. It's not because they're better. It's because they understand something you don't. They understand leverage, control. They understand how to make people feel, how to shift perception. And most of all, they know how to protect their energy like it's sacred. And you keep giving yours away, not because you're weak, but because you never learned how to hold it. This world doesn't crush the strongest. It crushes the unaware. It rewards the ones who can detach, who can sit in silence while the room burns, who can smile and still walk away. So, if you're hurting, if you're confused about why people leave when you need them most, why your loyalty isn't returned, why your kindness gets overlooked, this is why you were taught how to love, but not how to protect yourself while loving. You were taught how to give, but not when to stop. And now it's time to learn the part they left out. The part Machiavelli knew, that to survive in a world of masks, you must become a mirror, reflect, reveal nothing, and let their true nature show itself. Power is never given. It is taken silently, strategically, without apology. You were told that feeling deeply makes you human, that wearing your heart on your sleeve is brave, that emotional honesty is strength. But the world doesn't reward vulnerability. It exploits it. You think people respect your openness. They don't. They study it. They watch how you flinch, where you break, what makes you bleed. And then one day, they use it. Not because they're evil, but because power demande leverage, and your emotions gave them the map. The person who wins in this world is not the loudest, not the strongest, but the most emotionally disciplined, the one who can feel everything, but show nothing. Because emotions, in the wrong environment, are currency for thieves, and you've been handing out riches for free. They tell you to express yourself, to speak your truth, to show your pain, but they never mention the cost. Because once you reveal your wounds, you're no longer mysterious. You're no longer a threat. You're familiar, predictable, controllable. The emotionless one isn't cold. They're calculated. They don't react. They respond. There's a difference. Reacting is impulsive. It's a leak in your power. Responding is conscious. It's measured, precise, deadly when needed. You're so busy trying to be understood, you forget that not everyone deserves to understand you. You think people will see your tears and show mercy, but they don't. They see weakness. They sense permission, and they push the knife deeper, not always out of malice, but because they can control your emotions, or someone else will do it for you. They'll bait you, trigger you, spin your truth into drama, and suddenly you're defending yourself for feeling something real. That's the trap. Make you over-explain, make you overreact, make you doubt your sanity, while they stay calm, composed, untouchable. You think that silence means you've lost. No, silence is power. It forces others to fill in the gaps. And in their scrambling, they reveal themselves. They underestimate the one who speaks last. But Machiavelli knew, the one who controls the tempo, controls the outcome. It's not about not feeling. It's about not leaking, not bleeding in front of those who will drink from your wounds. To win in a world like this, you need to be emotionally sovereign, able to hold chaos without becoming it, able to feel the fire without letting it consume you. Think about the people who intimidate you the most. They're not the ones yelling. They're the ones watching. Still, focused, unbothered, because they know who they are. And they don't need to prove it. You don't become powerful by reacting. You become powerful by mastering your signal, by recognizing which emotions are real and which ones are just echoes from your past. The emotionless one wins, not because they're heartless, but because they're not enslaved by their heart. They love, they hurt, but they never let it dictate their strategy. And when the moment calls for action, they strike. Not from impulse, but from clarity. Your emotions are not your enemy, but they're not your guide either. They're signals, not instructions. You must be able to stand in the middle of a storm and see clearly. You must be able to hear the insult and choose not to respond. To feel the betrayal and say nothing. Not because you're weak, but because you're watching. And in your watching, you gain leverage. Because when others explode, you remain. This is how the emotionless one always wins. By refusing to play a game they've already mastered. They told you kindness would open doors. That being good would make you unforgettable. That if you just loved hard enough, stayed soft enough, waited long enough, they'd see your worth. But they lied. Because society doesn't reward kindness, it exploits it. Kindness, without boundaries, becomes servitude. And servitude is silent slavery. You think being kind makes you noble, but they see it as weakness. Not because kindness is bad, but because most people aren't mature enough to handle it. They mistake your generosity for guilt, your silence for submission, your patience for permission. You become the one who always says yes, who always forgives, who always absorbs the mess. And then you wonder why you feel so hollow, why your presence is expected, but never valued. Here's the truth. Society doesn't want you strong. It wants you agreeable. It wants you obedient, predictable, emotionally available, on demand. It teaches you that your value is in what you can give, not who you are. So you keep performing, keep smiling, keep shrinking. They clap for the helper, but they forget the helper has wounds too. Wounds no one ever asks about, because you've trained them not to. You've become useful, and that's why they keep you close. Not because they love you, but because you're convenient. Machiavelli warned us. In a world built on illusion, kindness must be weaponized, or it will be devoured. You keep thinking kindness will save you. It won't. It'll bury you. Beneath other people's chaos, beneath responsibilities that were never yours. Beneath the lie that to be loved, you must be needed. But love that requires utility isn't love. It's a transaction. And the more you give without discernment, the more invisible you become. Not because you're not enough, but because you're everywhere. Accessible, affordable, replaceable. That's the lie. That kindness alone is power. It's not. Kindness without strength is noise. Kindness without distance is self-erasure. And kindness without clarity is a mask you wear while you disappear. They told you to always be nice. But niceness is not kindness. Niceness is fear dressed in politeness. Fear of confrontation. Fear of rejection. Fear of being alone. True kindness requires spine. It requires the word no. It requires silence where noise is expected. Boundaries where access is assumed. And sometimes, walking away with nothing but your dignity. That's the kindness that disrupts. That rewrites power. That forces people to confront their own entitlement. You think you're losing people when you speak your truth. No, you're losing the illusion of connection. The kind built on you always saying yes. Always bending. Always being the bigger person. But here's the brutal truth. Always being the bigger person is how you lose yourself. You become the cushion for their chaos, the therapist for their trauma, the savior for their sabotage, and when you're exhausted, depleted, broken, they won't remember your kindness. They'll resent your collapse because you stopped performing. This is why you must stop confusing being kind with being available. You're not here to be anyone's emotional crutch. You're not here to soften every blow. You're not here to be digested, tolerated, or used. You're here to stand. Clear, sharp, kind, but never naive again. Because kindness is not about how much you give. It's about how well you protect what you have. Power isn't about truth. It's about perception. And Machiavelli understood that better than anyone. The crowd doesn't follow what's real. They follow what looks real. Appearances matter more than facts. And the man who controls the image controls the outcome. You don't have to be right. You just have to appear certain. You don't have to be moral. You just have to look like you're on the right side. Because perception is the battlefield, and most people don't even know they're in a war. You keep trying to prove yourself. You explain. You clarify. You show your heart. But while you're busy showing the truth, someone else is crafting the illusion. And the world rewards illusion. That's why Machiavelli never told you to be good. He told you to appear good, to master the art of seeming, to wear the right mask, for the right room, at the right time. You think that's manipulation. Maybe it is. But so is every advertisement you've ever seen. So is every politician's smile. So is every carefully crafted, authentic post online. The world isn't waiting for your truth. It's waiting to assign you a role. And if you don't choose the role yourself, you'll be cast in someone else's play. Control how they see you, or accept being misunderstood. There is no neutral perception. Every silence you give, every word you speak, every posture you take, builds an image, whether you like it or not. So the question is, are you sculpting that image, or are you letting it be sculpted for you? You think people are relating to who you are, but most are relating to the version of you that best fits their needs. The calm one, the funny one, the safe one, the one who doesn't disrupt. And the moment you change the script, they panic, because their version of you starts to fall apart. This is why power begins with self-awareness. You can't control perception if you're blind to the role you're already playing. Machiavelli warned rulers, never show your full hand. Never reveal your entire intent. Let them guess. Let them wonder. Let them underestimate. Because when they don't know what you're capable of, they can't defend against it. Use half-truths like mirrors. Show people just enough of what they expect to see, but never the whole picture. Keep the real power behind the curtain. That's how you move, not like a soldier, like a ghost. Calculated, deliberate, intransable. Control the narrative, not by screaming, not by defending, but by designing the atmosphere you move in. Perception is a frame, and whoever builds the frame defines the story. You think you're being real, but realness without strategic awareness is just self-sabotage with noble intentions. So ask yourself, what do people see when they see you? Is it what you chose or what they needed? You don't need to lie. You need to understand that truth is a tool, and how you deliver it is what determines your position. Because in the end, it's not the truth that changes the world. It's who controls the lens that truth is seen through. You were taught to value loyalty, to stand by others, to believe in bonds that last. But loyalty, in its pure form, is rare. And more often than not, it's a lie. Because people aren't loyal to you. They're loyal to their needs. And the moment you no longer serve those needs, the bond breaks. It's not betrayal. It's business. It's instinct. It's survival. You think loyalty means permanence. But in this world, loyalty is a contract written in disappearing ink. It holds. until it doesn't. And when it ends, you'll be the last one to know. Machiavelli warned, men are fickle. As long as you give them hope, comfort, benefits, they'll call you king. But take one thing away, and the same people who praised you will turn on you without hesitation. That's not pessimism. That's reality. You gave your heart. They gave you conditions. You gave your loyalty. They gave you convenience. And when things got uncomfortable, they vanished. Because most people don't love you. They love how they feel around you. The version of you that caters, that listens, that fixes. And when that version stops showing up, so do they. You think that hurts because it's unfair. But what truly hurts is realizing you built your life on assumptions. That if you were good, you'd be safe. If you were loyal, you'd be loved. But loyalty, untersted, is fantasy. Loyalty under pressure reveals the truth. Look around. How many people stayed when you had nothing left to offer? How many saw your silence and still chose you? How many loved you? Not the performance, but the person beneath it. Loyalty isn't measured when you're on top. It's measured when you fall. And most people vanish before you hit the ground. So stop betting your soul on the myth. Stop confusing shared history with shared future. Stop calling it loyalty when it's just habit, obligation, or comfort. True loyalty is rare. And it's quiet. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need titles. It just stays. But most of what you've called loyalty was dependency in disguise. Control wrapped in affection. Manipulation sold as support. And if you don't learn how to see it, you'll keep handing your trust to people who only know how to hold you when it's easy. Machiavelli didn't teach you to expect loyalty. He taught you to manage it, to reward it when it appears, to test it before you trust it, to never build your castle on ground that hasn't been shaken. Because if loyalty hasn't been tested, it's not loyalty, it's potential. And you can't build strategy on potential, only results. So what do? You stop expecting permanence. You stop needing guarantees. You start watching patterns instead of promises. You start reading actions instead of words. And most of all, you stop betraying yourself for the illusion that someone else won't. Loyalty should never cost your boundaries, should never require your silence, should never demand your self-erasure, because loyalty that demands your soul isn't loyalty. It's ownership. And you don't belong to anyone. If you don't build your own strategy, you'll be used in someone else's. And if you don't learn the rules of this game, you'll keep losing to people who do. It's not enough to be aware. You have to be prepared. Because in a world driven by control, passivity is suicide. So how do you stop getting crushed? You stop waiting for fairness. You stop begging for decency. You stop thinking the world owes you kindness just because you offered it first. You don't get crushed because you're not good enough. You get crushed because you were never trained to protect yourself. So the first step is to unlearn. Unlearn the belief that love means self-sacrifice. Unlearn the idea that silence will earn respect. Unlearn the instinct to explain your boundaries. Because power doesn't explain. Power moves. Quietly. Intentionally. Without asking permission. You want to stop being the one who gets left behind. Then stop being the most available. Stop being the one who breaks first. Stop being the one who needs to be understood before acting. You don't need validation. You need clarity. You don't need more people to like you. You need fewer people to access you. Control your environment. Control your presence. Control your energy. Not by becoming rigid, but by becoming precise. Set boundaries that don't need to be spoken. Let your energy communicate what your words no longer will. And when people test you, don't explain. Respond through behavior, through withdrawal, through indifference, because that's where power lives, in the ability to detach without losing yourself. Machiavelli didn't say to be cruel. He said to be strategic. Mercy without control is weakness. Compassion without limits is erosion. You don't become powerful by being feared. You become powerful by being unreadable. Unpredictable. Unshakable. You don't chase. You calibrate. You observe. You let others reveal themselves. Then decide if they've earned access to your mind. Your time. Your essence. You want to stop getting crushed. Then stop showing your blueprint to people who only came to copy it. Stop giving people the benefit of the doubt before they've earned your trust. And most of all, stop betraying yourself in the name of connection. You are not here to be liked. You are here to become formidable. And that doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming whole. So what do you do now? You stop explaining your worth. You start acting like someone who already knows it. You stop hoping they'll change. You change the room you're standing in. Or you leave. You stop waiting for them to see your light. You become the one who turns it off until they've earned the privilege to witness it again. You stop seeking peace with people who create chaos to feel alive. You stop making yourself smaller, softer, safer, just to be chosen. Because the truth is, you don't need to be chosen. You need to choose yourself so clearly that anyone who doesn't rise to meet you disqualifies themselves automatically. That's how you stop being crushed. By becoming the pressure they can't apply, the silence they can't decode, the standard they can't manipulate. You become your own kingdom, your own law, your own weapon, and your own sanctuary. You don't need to become ruthless. You need to become real. Not the version they trained you to be, not the mask that made you accepted, but the presence that doesn't apologize for existing. Because the world doesn't change when you speak louder. It changes when your silence means something, when your withdrawal has weight, when your no isn't followed by guilt, and your boundaries don't need a backstory. You've spent too many years asking the wrong question. Will they still love me if I change? But the question is, will you still love yourself if you don't? Because if you don't evolve, you'll keep living the same chapter, hoping the villain changes. They won't. What needs to change is the one who keeps handing out forgiveness before anyone ever earned it. What needs to change is the one who keeps diluting their truth just to be palatable. What needs to change is the one who learned to equate being useful with being worthy. You are not here to be convenient. You are not here to be soft enough to hold. You are here to become so deeply aligned that no projection can bend you, no absence can shatter you, no betrayal can define you. Let them mislabel you. Let them misunderstand your stillness. Let them fear your silence. Because when they do, you finally stepped outside their control. This is your power, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that endures, quiet, precise, unmoved. You don't need more words. You need more presence. You don't need to prove anything. You need to remember everything. So let this be the moment you stop shrinking. Stop pleasing. Stop performing. And start moving like what you are. Not broken. Not bitter. But awake. The kind of awake that makes people uncomfortable. The kind of awake that no longer needs permission. The kind of awake that never gets crushed again.